Of the day. The second business of the day is the first reading of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Bello Sani Abubakar. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the clerk of the Senate to read the first reading. Thank you.
Yes. Distinguished Senator Sani Wasu. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, again, the second business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Eshilo Kunsani Wasiu on the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 Alteration Bill 2023 SB 231. Mr. President, Mr. President, the chamber is ready.
Has everyone gotten your Clause 1, 2, 3, and 4 Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 5, 6, 7, and 8. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 8, 9, 10, and 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. I give you 2 minutes to look through. Well, the fact is that this has been passed already. It was passed in the last session, so we have worked on it before. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 16, 17, 18, and 19. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. Clauses 18, 19, and 20, and 24. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. 21, 22, 23, and 24. Those in favor say aye. 25. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Interpretation. Clause 26 to 22. 26, sorry. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Short title. Clause 27. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The explanatory memorandum. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate leader. Yes, okay, short title. Long title. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. I think that's all. The Senate leader.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, distinguished senators, I stand to move that the Senate revert to plenary to enable the chairman report progress. I so move.
Yeah.
I so second the motion that we move back to plenary to consider the report. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished senators, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the Nigerian Maritime University, Okero Concord, Delta State Establishment Bill 2023 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended. Number of clauses 1 to 25 as recommended. Interpretation, clause 26 as recommended. Short title, clause 27 as recommended. Schedule 1 to 3 as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Yes. So, leader, the leader.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, I move that the Nigerian Maritime University Okerenkoko Establishment Bill 2023 be now read the third time. I so move, Mr. President.
The Clerk of the Senate. Minority Leader. Sorry. Those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Nigerian Maritime University, Okerenkoko, Delta State, and for related matters 2023, third reading.
A bill for the act to establish Nigeria Maritime University, Okerenkoko, Delta State, and for related matters 2023, third reading, taken and passed. The Senate Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the third order of the day is the second reading of the Constituency Special Project Budgetary Provision Bill 2023, SB 08. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read for the first time in this chamber on Thursday, 20th July 2023. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Babangida Hussaini to move the motion for the bill to be read a second time.
Senator Babangida Hussaini, you may wish to move your motion. You may use to move the motion for the second reading of the bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I rise to move the motion for the consideration and second reading of the Constituency and other special project budgetary provision bill 2023, SB 08. I so submit. Thank you.
There's no need for seconder. You can continue. Just read your read. No need for seconder. You can continue.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I'm Senator Babangida Hussaini, representing Jigawa Northwest Senatorial District. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead the debate of this important bill, which seeks to grant legal backing to the provision of constituency and other special projects in the annual budget of the Federation by a minimum of 20%. The bill was read for the first time on the floor of the Senate on Thursday, 20th July 2023. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, one of the unique features of our democratic journey so far is the concept of constituency projects. Available statistics show that 70% of Nigerians live in the rural areas, and the intention of the bill and the intendment is to ensure that good governance is delivered to these crucial areas. The bill is therefore intended to correct the top-bottom approach of governance and replace it with bottom-top approach. Constituency projects refer to projects that have been identified, designed, articulated, and proposed by members of the National Assembly. based on the need assessment of their respective constituencies for possible accommodation in the Annual Appropriation Act and implementation by the executive through its various ministries, departments, and agencies. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, constituency project in recent times is one of the ways to attract federal presence to our people. If not for these projects, majority of federal constituencies will not have a single federal project due to lopsided and opaque nature of project allocation in the budget. The constituency project is not peculiar to Nigeria alone. There are similar mechanisms in other developing countries. For instance, the Constituency Development Fund has been institutionalized in Kenya, Uganda, India, and Tanzania. Instead of vilifying the National Assembly on the constituency project, people should advocate for an institutional framework for the implementation of the constituency project, as it is the case in Kenya and other climes. This bill, therefore, is an attempt at providing both the institutional and legislative framework for the operation of constituency projects in Nigeria, thereby making it a part of our national budget. While it is true that local government councils have the responsibility of the development of local communities, the federal government, on the other hand, has the overall responsibility of providing federal presence in these areas through developmental projects, and there is no way this can be achieved without the input of the parliamentarians who are the real representatives of the people at the federal level. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, by so doing, the parliamentarian who knows the needs of the people will articulate them in the form of projects for injection into the budget in the form of constituency projects. The most interesting thing about this constituency project bill includes, among others, 1, projects under this act, when passed, shall be community-based in order to ensure that the prospective benefits are available to a widespread and cross-section of the inhabitants of a particular area. 2, any funding under this act shall be for a complete project or a defined phase of a project and may include the acquisition of land and buildings. 3, all projects shall be projects defined under this act when passed and may include costs related to feasibility studies, planning and design, or other technical input for the project, but shall not include recurrent cost of a facility. 4, projects may include the acquisition of vehicles, machinery, and equipment, and other equipment for the constituency. Most legislators around the world angle for such projects such that they can appeal to the voters in their constituencies, since they seek votes just as the executive does. In most democracies, it is a process used to obtain funding from a central government to finance projects benefiting the legislators' local constituents. It is also known as earmarking or pork barrel in the USA. It is instructive to mention that this has been part of the democratic system for over 200 years in the US. The constituency projects shall constitute 20% of the annual budget by ensuring that certain portion of the nation's annual budget be set aside for rural development. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my highly respected colleagues, the Greek philosopher Aristotle averred that the state exists for the greater good of humanity. Democracy, on the other hand, gives people the opportunity to determine how they are governed. Naturally, the electorate looks up to the government for democracy dividends. The National Assembly, in response to the yearning of their constituents for development and other federal presence, demanded and got the constituency projects. We must therefore seek ways at institutionalizing it, and that is what this bill seeks to provide. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, since the inception of the constituency project in Nigeria, there have been misconceptions, misinterpretations, and judgment of the constituency project administration. This and indeed some other factors have painted the hallowed chambers of National Assembly in bad light. It is instructive to note, by way of educating the general public, that members of the National Assembly merely identify the needs of the constituents and recommend same to the executive during the budgeting session. Ultimately, they have no direct control over their implementation. Hence, the award, financing, and supervision of constituency projects are the exclusive preserves of appropriate agencies other than the National Assembly, domiciled within the executive. This bill is therefore an attempt to give the constituency project a legislative framework to quench once and for all the controversies surrounding the issue. I therefore urge my distinguished colleagues to support the passage of this bill to ensure accelerated development in our various constituencies. Thank you very much. I so submit.
Please, I just want to tell us the obvious, what we know already. The intendment of this bill is already part of our budgetary system. Every year, for those who have been here, for the ranking senators, you know this, it's part of our tradition now that a certain amount of money is always provided every year to take care of what this bill intends to do. So I think it's already part of our system. But since we're at this stage of the process of the bill, I will allow someone who knows the system very well to explain to us so that we don't waste much time on this, because it's something that has been achieved already. Even though there's no legal framework to do that, that has taken care of this, but already it's part of our tradition, and nobody can take it away. No administration can take this away. The zonal intervention fund has been provided every year. Senator Ningi, you may like to expatiate on this.
Thank you, Mr. Senate President. My name is Senator Abdul Ningi, and I represent Bauchi Central of Bauchi State. Mr. President, let me first commend my younger brother, Senator Babangida, for attempting to bring this bill to have a legal framework. Distinguished senators will recall that after the 2003 election, we had a rate of no return up to 82%, which means only 18% of the then members of the National Assembly actually came back to the National Assembly. And what was the reason? The reason is not far-fetched. Projects that are situated within our constituencies that have been captured in the national budget, a member of the National Assembly, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, will go to his constituency. And so this is a project that emanated from the National Assembly, and therefore I claim the project as part of my constitutional duties. From the president to the governor of that particular state, the president on his campaign tour will mention the projects, but he will not attempt to name the senator or member of the House and give him some merit of the project. So when we came back in 2023, 18% of the members came back, and we said the only way we are going to intervene in making sure our constituents understand that any project that comes from the national budget will have a hand in it. Not only the national budget, we've been totally disconnected with it, even at the state level, whereby you have an APC, OPDP, governor that belongs to your own party. You go to that state, you go to your own local government, where a governor constructed a road, a clinic, and you claim to say this is our government. Completely you have been rubbish. So that's why what gave the rise to the constituency intervention in 2003. Having said that, all that we have achieved over the years was because of our legislative powers under the Constitution, under the legislative powers and privileges of the National Assembly. We have been able to constitute the zonal intervention as a constituency project. But what Babangida is trying to do is to make it legal, a law, so that any president that comes probably will not attempt to bother himself in implementing or not implementing once it becomes a law. So I think this is something that will be taken to the committees, and then there will be public hearing on it, and I move that this thing should pass the second reading, Mr. President.
Okay, Senator Kawo Sumela, then thereafter I'll move to this side.
Mr. President, my dear distinguished senators of the Federal Republic.
You have 2 minutes.
I am Suleiman Abdurrahman Kawu Sumaila, representing Kano South Senatorial District. Mr. President, I am aligning myself with our last speaker, Senator Abdul Ahmed Ningi. Although I believe with your submission, we have already doing something on constituency project, more especially in our last previous assembly starting from 2003, and it became prominent in 2007 under the leadership of our President David Mark and Speaker Bonkole. In our leadership, when we introduced zonal intervention to attend the critical sectors of the economy, where we agree that a certain amount will be allocated on zonal basis, where senators and members of the House will oversight the implementation of that critical project. Mr. President, we need this bill, and actually, more especially, the current system which we are operating, constituency project or zonal intervention, we need to look into two critical issues: community participation and funding. Community participation. I am happy with part of the submission of the sponsor of this bill, where he insists that we must connect the project with the community. Let the community own the project. Let the community identify their need together with the member, and they will take the ownership of the project. Then funding. If we have this kind of law on the ground, it will attend the huge gap of abandoning constituency project all over Nigeria. In our own constituency,
You have 1 second.
Mr. President, I think we need to support this bill because it comes with so many innovations which will help us in accountability, transparency, consistency, and continuity in the implementation of constituency projects through community participation. I so submit.
Thank you very much, Senator Nasir Sanzangundara.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, I'm Nasir Sanzangundara, representing Katsina North. Mr. President, I truly align myself with the bill as presented or proposed by Senator Hussein Babangida. But I just want to add one aspect of it. I think in determining the funding, it should be based on the equality of local governments as opposed to the equality of states. I so submit.
Senator Wasiu Sani.
The Senate President, I remain Wasiu Sani Eshinlokun. I'm happy to be here when this bill is being discussed. Let me say that it starts in 1999 in Lagos State. And at that time, I was the chairman, Business and Rules of Lagos State House of Assembly. And like what is happening here, every honorable member will come with roles to be done in their constituency, make do motions and what have you. At the end of the day, we found out that this is not provided for in the Constitution. So it's all about motion, resolution, and no action. And every day, we were disturbed. At that point, the leadership of the House said, I should go and find a solution. And we came up with the Constituency Project and Development Bill. Fortuitously, the current president was the governor of Lagos State then. So it will not be strange to him if you bring this up with him. Because even when the government is doing very well, you may not be able to attract projects to your own constituency. At the end of the day, your constituents will term you a failure because you are unable, for whatever reason, to bring things to your constituency, even when the government is doing very well. And at that particular point in time, the governor of Lagos State was doing very well, but there were honorable members who cannot point to one or two things in their constituency. The same thing here. So these things will solve a lot of issues. Now that this is going to be the legislative and the legal backing, I'm so happy to be here when this is discussed. And I will give it my unalloyed support. Thank you very much.
Senator Mabe Mungono.
Distinguished Senate President, distinguished senators, my name is Mohamed Tahir Mungono. I represent Borno North Senatorial District. I fully align myself with the submissions made by the mover of the sponsor of the bill, adopt all his submissions as mine, and further wish to add that as novel as it is, the concept of constituency funding as a vehicle to reach the people at the grassroots level, to bring dividends of democracy to the doorsteps of our constituents. The major challenge over the years towards the implementation of the constituency project, based on my experience in the House of Reps, is, for example, the issue of the quantum of funding. As a member of the House of Reps, throughout my 5 terms in the House of Reps, I get only 100 million naira as a constituency project fund, which is grossly inadequate. Since 2003, when this concept started, it is 100 million naira that I get. So it is grossly inadequate, considering the inflationary trend. For example, members from Kano State don't even get 100 million naira in the House of Reps. They get about 70, 60 million, 20, because of the number of members in the House of Reps. I don't know what I'm going to get here as a senator, as a constituency project fund. I hear rumors that I will be given 100 million, 200 million, I don't know. But it is grossly inadequate. Mr. President, distinguished senators, I fully align myself with the issue of a percentage of the budget being allocated for the purpose of constituency funding in order to take into consideration the inflationary trend in the country and to bring dividends of democracy to the doorsteps of our people. Thank you.
Thank you. We are going to move to this side of the aisle, Senator Ume, then we'll come back here, Senator Sadiq and Senator Karimi, and then we move forward. But let me just correct one impression. The concept of constituency project started in the year 2000 in the House of Representatives. Then the president didn't like it. The president at that time didn't like it. It was a big fight. But thank God, from 2003, it became something that has become a tradition. It was taken into consideration, given certain allocation, which since then, it has been the practice to provide that funds for the senators to nominate projects to be cited in their senators and indeed members of the House of Representatives to get them cited in their various constituencies. And even preference given to those projects in terms of funding. So I think what Senator Mungono said is for us, well, after debating, to make sure that the amount is improved upon. Because the money has become, the fund has become, is static. It has not been improved upon, despite the rate of, the inflationary trend that has been increasing year in, year out in the country. So, Senator Ome, I think you'll be guided by this in your contribution.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Victor Ume. I represent Anambra Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, I rise to contribute to the debate on this proposed bill. I know that this bill will be popular among members because of the pressure we've been subjected to by our constituents. Erroneously, we are beginning to be assessed along what the governors are able to do or the executive is able to do in terms of projects attracted and executed in the constituencies. But, Mr. President, this bill seeks to infringe on the Constitution. The Constitution has clear provisions on the functions of all the arms of government. This one that we are trying to go into now will require constitutional alteration because this thing is not one of the functions of the legislature. It is because of the pressure we've been subjected to that through understanding with the executive, the National Assembly has been able to extract constituency projects. This bill recognizes that there is no law backing this practice. And if you recall, some 2 days ago, we discussed this, and I know that the Senate President discussed this issue and said he will be negotiating for an improvement on what will be made available as constituency funds for constituency projects for lawmakers. If you ask me, Mr. President, as very popular as this may be, I would like us to avert our minds on the constitutional bottleneck for us to come out and enact this into law. I'm coming.
Point of order. Senator Wasiu Sani.
Thank you very much. I would just, I want my colleagues and Mr. President to advise your mind to section 83 of the Nigerian Constitution, 1999 as amended. It says, no money shall be withdrawn from any public fund of the Federation other than the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation unless the issue of those money has been authorized by an act of the National Assembly. The National Assembly has absolute authority on how monies will be spent. And we have not done anything outside that right now.
Your point of order is fully sustained. I was holding the Constitution. If not, he had done it, I wanted to read that to you. You need to withdraw that. Well, I'm coming. You see, well, I know this bill will go to the next stage, but the fact remains that do we even need an act? Do we need an act to institutionalize it? Because we have the authority to prescribe how money will be spent. And do you need now an act to give you the authority to create any fund for the legislature? Do you need? The Constitution is number one, and it has given you the right, as read out by Senator Wasiu Sani. So do you need any other act which maybe will be inferior to these, to the Constitution? So this is the question. It will go to the second reading. I'm not trying to abort the bill here, but when we go to the public hearing or whatever, that will be sorted out. But he raised a very salient fact. So in the first place, I will repeat. In fact, Senator Nengi is here. In 2000, when we brought the idea of constitutional project under my chair, I was the chairman of the Committee on Appropriations, and I brought it. the president didn't want to implement those projects. We fought. But in 2003, he agreed because he had no option. Because the Constitution gives the National Assembly the right to do that. And it's a practice everywhere in the world. It's a practice. So it was accepted, and a certain amount has been now been provided every year for that purpose. So do we now, I don't think we need an act, because the Constitution gives us the latitude. But later we can talk about that, and discuss, but you have been given the right by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So, Senator Medoki, you have 2 minutes, then we move to this side. We have the Leonard Silk, Senator Karimi, Senator Sadiq. Sorry, we'll start from you.
Good afternoon, the Senate President, my distinguished colleague. My name is Garba Musa Maidoki, Senator representing Kebbi South Senatorial District. Distinguished colleagues, having heard, I was initially 100% in support of the bill, but having heard what the Constitution of Nigeria has given us, and in line with what the Senate President has said, that whatever act we are going to do is going to be inferior to what the Constitution has already provided for us. So it is my candid opinion that we go with the Constitution and do appropriation as appropriate. Because when we go to public hearing, this issue of constituency project has generated a lot of negative images. A lot of negative images. People will think that it's just the money given to senators to do whatever they like. And the public hearing, I'm not too sure, will give us the best of exposure and publicity. It is my humble opinion that since the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has given us this authority to appropriate and is constitutional, we should go by the Constitution and allow this matter to be stepped down. I so submit. Thank you very much.
The two Senator Sadiq.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, I am Sadiq Suleiman Umar. I represent the good and decent people of Kwara North. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, our constituency projects, as we know, is one of the most popular projects in the country today. Given all the debates that have gone around already, we can't say that it's not constitution or we don't have power to do this or we can do that. What is important to me is what purpose, and from history and experience so far, what did constituency projects do to Nigerians? Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I can tell you that it's constituency projects that ensures that the most remotest part of this country benefits from federal government. Because if you take the national budgets as it is, and you look where humongous money goes to, it only serves some particular areas. Of course, there are bigger ones that you expect for national development, but direct impact to our people is only the constituency projects that really get to our people. Take my constituency, for example. You can look at a year budget, and you'll be shocked that there will be nothing that the whole of my constituency, 5 local governments, benefit from the federal government. If not for my presence here and the presence of my House of Representatives member, my constituency might not have any benefit from national budget. So I think that this bill is apt, although there has been a debate on whether it's necessary, but for what it's worth, Mr. President, all we are saying is that for Nigerians to benefit most from national budget, National Assembly input in getting projects attracted to their area is very, very relevant, and we must take this very seriously, Mr. President.
Senator Goje.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Mohammed Njimo Goje, representing Gombe Central. Mr. President, I have nothing against this bill. It is good. The constituency project is the only way, the main way whereby projects reach the rural people. But my contention is it looks like the Senate wants to go and beg the president in order to use the powers already given to it by the Constitution. The Constitution allows us, give us the power to appropriate, Section 80. So we don't need to do any law in order to do what we feel is in the best interest of this country. The concept of Constituency project came in as explained by Senator Baro Jibrin in 2000. That time I was also a minister. I was a minister of State for Power, and the attention was really on rural electrification. And we participated actively in assisting the National Assembly to ensure that projects go to virtually every constituency in this country without any law. And therefore, I feel we have gone far, yes, we have gone far in this bill. We can take it to second reading, but to me, it's not necessary. It's not necessary at all. We are really surrendering ourselves. We are belittling ourselves. So we are asking for President to tell us, use this power, don't use this power. Abi, that's what we are telling the Nigerians and the President. So I feel this bill is, although it makes sense to have constituency project, but we don't need any act in order to exercise our powers that are enshrined in the Nigerian Constitution. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. The Malian, the Deputy Senate President, Senate Leader. Now, just to have a little bit of concentration. This bill is, the idea behind it is very laudable. But making a law to have constituency project appropriated, it's as if we don't know our powers. Again, we have separation of powers. Execution is the function of the executive. So any law you make that is inconsistent with any provision of the Constitution is null and void to the extent of that inconsistency. I have said that we are going to sit down, maybe we do a small retreat in Abuja here as a Senate to look at most of the laws that we handed over certain powers to certain agencies. For instance, if the Constitution says that all monies generated in the Federation should go to the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation, any law that we make that allows an agency to keep money is unconstitutional to the extent of the conflict between the Constitution and that law. Any act of Parliament that gives power to CBN to keep 10% or 15% if it generates revenue, that is inconsistent with the provision of the Constitution, and therefore, if challenged, it will be null and void to the extent of that inconsistency. So we are already, as a collective Senate, we are going to look at all previous acts of Parliament that tended to conflict with the Constitution. So here, the executive has executive powers. We make the laws, they execute. The essence of the constituency project is for them to execute projects up to the rural communities that we belong. It will still be them executing. They have MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies. But we have the power of appropriation. With this, by making a law, are we saying that we don't have the power of appropriation? We have. So I don't know whether you insist that we must have an act of Parliament before we can appropriate. So let's have the former the Senate President Emeritus. Let him say a word.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Ahmed Ibrahim Dawn. I represent Yobe North. Mr. President, let me say that the business of lawmaking is largely vested in the legislature. And the legislature is part or one arm of government in a system like our own, the presidential system. I will advocate that while it is true and is constitutional that we can simply appropriate whatever we want, I will advocate that we should also bear in mind that we can do better and much, much easier if we consult, if we partner with the executive arm of government. The law we are trying to pass, for me, is appropriate, is germane. When we fought the then president in 2000, actually for the whole of 4 years, there was a battle between the legislature, particularly the House of Representatives then, and the executive arm of government. The main thing was inclusion in the budget of projects by members of the National Assembly. And we felt we had the powers. And truly, yes, we have the powers. But Mr. President, let's go back down memory lane. What happened when the members of the National Assembly will appropriate in the budget, and yet the executive for that year will do what we then called selective implementation? In fact, there was at one time clear directive to all ministries not to implement anything included by members of the National Assembly. Later, by 2007, this thing took a shape, better shape, when the zonal intervention program was introduced as a result of dialogue between our leaders then in the National Assembly and the then executive arm of government, headed by the late Eradua, our president, late president. What I think we need to do, Mr. President, though we have all the powers to appropriate anything, but there is nothing wrong for the National Assembly to look at what is reasonable and significant in terms of percentage of the federal budget for the constituency projects. How does each senatorial district or federal constituency benefit equally? And then we pass. And I know that our leaders will still have to go one extra step to hold discussions with the executive on that side. You can insist, because you have our support on the figures that we put there, and then we can do whatever we want without thinking that somebody will not say, don't implement this budget. So I believe that it's a worthwhile thing. We should always remember, and sorry, that's my stand, that you cannot clap with one hand, as the late MQ Abiola said. If you try to do that, it won't be loud enough for people to hear. Let's try to have this bill passed, and let's dialogue with the executive arm of government to have what we need in our various senatorial districts and federal constituencies. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Senator Karimi.
Thank you, Mr. President, my colleagues. My name is Karimi Sunday. I represent Kogi West. I want to thank the sponsor of this bill because I believe it is very necessary we have this bill in place. Before now, yes, we have our sonar intervention project, which we are allowed to select projects for our constituency. But the way they still treat it in some agencies of government is as if we are doing, they are just doing us a favor. Whereas we are the closest to the people. We know what is best in terms of infrastructural developments for our constituency. If ministers and directors of government can select projects into their areas as they like, before agencies of government and ministry will even bring their proposal to the National Assembly, they should get input from us. They should get input from us, from each senators. Look, what do you want us to put for your constituency? Then that will be included in their proposal to the National Assembly. I think this, if we have this bill in place, it will also help us in the implementation of those projects. So we shouldn't just discard it that we have the power to make laws in terms of what to spend and what not to spend. We need to have this bill in place, and we'll be helping our constituency in fulfilling our mandate. Thank you.
Deputy Senate President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Barrow Jibrin Kano North. Mr. President, I think...
Just a second. Let me hear from the Chairman of Preparation before you. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleague, Diola Solomon Olamilekon, Chairman, Senate Committee on Appropriation representing Ogun West. Mr. President, I want to thank the mover of this bill, who has a very good intention by proposing this bill. And I must tell you, genuinely, it meant well. And the intention is clear. It's for us to be able to have more federal government presence in our various constituencies, which is not a bad idea. But, Mr. President, where I have problem with this bill is that we are surrendering our powers to the executive, because we all agree that the power of the purse remains with the National Assembly. Yes, the federal government put together their policies in a numerical term called budget, which is laid before us. And in there, we have the power to appropriate this fund to them. And by the time we are now leaving the grand norm, which is the Constitution, I'm putting it up in a bill that we are mandating that the government of the day or anybody who is coming must appropriate about 20% of the budget size as constituency project. Is like surrendering our powers to the executive. We have the power. We can do this. Yes, there will be dialogue, there will be need for us to sit down and talk about this, but not reducing it to a bill that will now ask the executive, who now have the right or the option either to sign or not to sign. But the Constitution is there, who has protected us, that has given us the power to do this. And we have already started, and we are working along that line. The only thing is that we can only improve on whatever we have on ground, and which is within our jurisdiction to do. So I will be asking the mover of this bill to let us look and dialogue more and look into it before coming up with a final position on this. That for us to go ahead and propose this bill and turn to be an issue when already the power resides with us, I think it will not be appropriate for us at this point in time. So I want to thank the movers, but I still believe we should do proper consultation before eventually coming up with way forward concerning. But I believe the power is with us. I so submit, Mr. President.
Yes, DSP, with apologies, we can now close the debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. My reason to request you to allow me to speak is to give my own perspective as a former chairman of the Committee on Appropriations. I serve in the House of Reps as chairman of the Committee on Appropriations, also in the Senate. And I thank my predecessor for his submission. He has spoken about part of what I intend to speak about. And besides that, I want to commend my colleague and my good friend, my neighbor, Senator Hussein Babangida Walin Kazawari, for bringing up this bill. Because he's showing his passion. It shows his passion for making sure that we take projects to our various constituencies, which is good. But the fact is this: we operate under our constitution. And this constitution is very clear about the role of the National Assembly. And this is synonymous with the presidential system of government. We have a similar situation in the United States. They also have projects. They are given the opportunities to take projects to their various zones, constituency, and so on and so forth. But there's no law that is created outside the Constitution, because the power of the power resides within the purview, within the latitude of the legislature. Now, what is needed here, and which has been done in 2007, in 2007, was for the executive and legislature to have a compromise. Normally, the appropriation process is full of negotiation and compromises, dialogue. You sit down, you negotiate. So what is needed in every appropriation process is negotiation. Yes, we agree we have a certain amount of money that is being provided now. We need more. We negotiate with executive. And the attitude of leaders are different. Former President Obasanjo did not go with us initially. But later he saw reason and began to subpedal, to backpedal on his stance. Now, there was the period of the late Yaradua. He agreed and saw reason and looked at the Constitution very well, and he understood the fact that the part proposal resides in the National Assembly. And then a certain amount of money was set aside. And from then, things have been going smoothly. Yes, when we had problem with the former President Buhari, he refused the money, the implementation was very poor. But when the former Senate President Amelon was elected, and we had this very sound cordial relationship with the executive, we had 100% implementation. As we speak, the present president already has given approval for release 100%. The funds have been released 100%. The current president, the president of the nation, as to speak. So it depends on the attitudes of various presidents. So I don't think we need this act. We don't need it. Already the power is given to us here. If we want it to be 200 billion, we can go and negotiate with Mr. President. If the funds are available, so be it. And besides that, I don't want, there's certain thing I want to say, but I don't want to say it here. I will go around to tell our colleagues. Certain improvements have been made, and we are doing very well. So I think what we need to do is to sit down with the executive. Anytime we want to see, we want to make sure that the money is improved upon, we negotiate. Not only on this, all aspects of the budgetary process is based on negotiation. So there's no need for this law. I so submit.
Distinguished colleagues, it's good that we have listened to all shades of opinions. But there was one that also struck me, and that was that if we finish making approving this bill, then we send it to the executive, and the executive does not append its signature, and then we come back here, and then we try to override, and then the public will say that we are trying to make a law to suit ourselves. And already the chairman of appropriation said even now that the current president has given approval for 100% release of constituency project funds. So it will look as if we are suspecting each other, whereas the government, the three arms are supposed to be working together. So I bet, having concluded the debate, I will put the question. Those in favor that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The nay have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators,
Order.
the fourth order of the day is a motion standing in the name of distinguished Senator Yar Adua Abdul Aziz Musa on the improvement of coordination and synergy between Nigerian security forces and agencies to help strengthen and win the fight against the insecurity in the nation. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Yar Adua Abdulaziz Musa to move the motion.
Distinguished Senator Musa Abdulaziz Yar Adua.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I am Abdulaziz Musa Eradua, representing the good people of Katsina Central. Mr. President, before I go ahead with the motion, I want to make a little amendment on the subject heading of the motion to read urgent need for the improvement of coordination and synergy between Nigerian security forces and agencies to help strengthen and win the fight against insecurity in the nation.
We are not, the Senate is listening to you. You are moving the motion. So anything you want to add in the course of moving the motion, add. And then, if there is a seconder, we go ahead in the debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Urgent need.
Sorry, I did not say I did not take the amendment. All I said is that he's moving the motion. So whatever he's saying in the course of moving the motion, that he would like you in the course of debate to turn into urgent or late coordination, he should do so. The major thing is that he has the floor. After that, somebody will second the motion, and then we'll decide whether we are debating or not. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Urgent need for the improvement of coordination and synergy between Nigerian security forces and agencies to help strengthen and win the fight against insecurity in the nation. The Senate knows that the contemporary security landscape in Nigeria poses unprecedented challenges that outstrip the protective capabilities of any security agency alone. Therefore, the fight against insurgency and other novel security crises requires the collaboration of all the relevant security agencies and ministries, departments, and agencies. Also notes that Nigeria has various security agencies aside the Armed Forces of Nigeria and the Nigeria Police Force. These include the Nigeria Customs Service, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, Nigerian Correctional Service, Nigeria Immigration Service, Nigerian Drug Law Enforcement Agency, National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, and other authorized civilian task forces. Additionally, Nigeria has other key security services that oversee both internal and external threats: the Department of State Service, the Defense Intelligence Agency, and the National Intelligence Agency. Aware that Nigeria faces numerous simultaneous security crises. These include the Boko Haram in the northeast, the activities of bandits and kidnappers in the northwest, the activities of gunmen in the southeast and south-south, and other forms of criminality like armed robbery, herders-farmers clashes, and cross-border crimes. Informed about the kidnapping of Major General R.C. Duru, retired in Owerri, Imo State, on 27th September 2023 by members of IPOB, and the overall nefarious acts of the proscribed outfits, and the much touted unknown gunmen in the eastern part of the country. Reports that on the 3rd of October 2023, at least 5 people were killed and some others injured when bandits attacked the Ongwar Dankali community in Zaria local government area of Kaduna State. Also informed about the fact that troops of Operation Safe Haven and Operation Hakorin Damisa 4 from 9 to 16 October 2023 neutralized bandits and armed robbers and arrested 59 suspects in connection with kidnapping, armed robbery, cattle rustling, railway vandalism, gun running, illegal mining, as well as recovered arms and ammunition and illicit drugs. Gathered from the Punch newspaper on the 18th of October 2023 that no fewer than 50 people, including a district head, women and children, have been abducted, while 3 others were reportedly killed in an attack by bandits in Bagega, a mining village in Zamfara State. Worried that just recently on the 20th of October 2023, bandits in their numbers raided Damusa town in Katsina State, the headquarters of Damusa local government area, killing 7 people and injuring 10 people, and kidnapped a yet to be a certain number of people. Furthermore, the bandits also attacked the people of Uruma, Tamawa, and Dattawa villages in Kurfi local government, killing people and rustling cattle. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, just last week, about 8 villages were attacked in Katsina Southern Senatorial Zone, in Musawa and Matazu local governments. Over 26 people were killed, 30 were abducted, 37 were injured, and over 20 cows were roasted. Cognizant of the fact that the primary focus of security agencies should be directed at making Nigeria safe, the insecurity in Nigeria can only be tackled if all security agencies and parastatals that play key roles in national security work in synergy under a centralized command structure to ensure that the country is highly secured. This cooperative effort reinforces the interdependence and interrelatedness of Nigerian security agencies. Accordingly, the Senate resolves to commend the security forces and agencies in Nigeria for the ongoing efforts made in fighting all forms of insecurity in the country. Urge the various security agencies in Nigeria, both military and paramilitary, to improve and enhance their interoperational synergy and coordination for the effective and holistic tackling of the various types of insecurity plaguing the nation. To develop a national security policy document outlining the framework for an improved and streamlined synergy and coordination between the various security agencies, and to embark on joint training to enhance their capabilities and effectiveness in dealing with all forms of security challenges bedeviling our dear nation. Mr. President,
Okay, point of order. Point of order, yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Karimi Sunday. I represent Kogi West. I come under Order 61. Senator Yaradua is my good friend. I just wanted him to finish reading his motion. Order 61 says, it shall be out of order to make a motion or move an amendment dealing with the subject matter of a bill or other order of the day appointed for consideration. He amended the heading of his motion. This order does not allow that. He amended, you amended, excuse me, I'm talking about a point of order. You cannot change the subject, you cannot change this is the order of the day. And what is in the order of the day is the improvement of coordination and synergy between Nigerian security forces and agencies to help strengthen and win the fight against insecurity in the nation. But he changed that. He did that.
Point.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, accordingly, the security agencies should embark on joint training to enhance their capabilities and effectiveness in dealing with all forms of security challenges bedeviling our nation. I so move, Mr. President.
Mr. President, my very distinguished colleagues, I am Senator Akwashiki Goja. I represent Nasarawa North Senatorial District. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, first and foremost, let me second the motion for the urgent need to improve coordination of synergy between Nigerian security forces and agencies to help strengthen and win the fight against insecurity in the nation. Mr. President, my very distinguished colleagues, this motion is up, very important, unique for this, our country, dear Nigeria. As we all know, the primary assignment of every government is to protect life and properties of its citizens. And I want to use this time to commend the sagacity of the mover of this motion for bringing it out this time where the people that we represent are yearning for security, for them to sleep with their two eyes closed. The era and time of security fighting within themselves is gone. Times when you see military fighting the police people, or police versus civil defense, or army versus customs, it interacts and it discourages the coordination of security in Nigeria. And I want to urge our colleague to look at this motion with all seriousness and importance because of the people and even ourselves in the highways we are traveling, so that we should advise the security, and if it is possible, let them bring themselves together and see the reason why they should work together, why they should advise themselves together to lead, to have very good idea, very timing, to protect the people that we are representing, and to make security their primary assignment, where governments are paying them for. Just 2 weeks ago, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, we have just approved a supplementary budget for the executive arm of government. And looking at the supplementary budget, 80% of the finances and the fund has been channeled to the security agencies in this country alone. On this time and on this note, I want my colleagues, under the leadership of Mr. President, to see the sagacious where we should support this motion and ask the security to be out and doing to protect the people who are presented. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I so submit.
Distinguished Senator Nenge.
Mr. President, thank you very much for recognizing me. My name is Senator Abdul Ningi. I represent Bauchi Central of Bauchi. Mr. President, we are living in very, very difficult times. We are living in very hard times, and it is important to believe every one of us is threatened security-wise. Mr. President, gone are those days when we hear security challenges in the northeast, in the north-central states of Niger and Benue, in the northern western states of Zamfara and Sokoto. Today, Mr. President, as we speak, the only area that is secure in Nigeria that go out and sleep with their eyes closed is probably the villa. Every part of this country, people are apprehensive. Just 2 days ago, sir, just 2 days ago, in Kubwa, the in-law of Jeribe was kidnapped. Payment paid. After the payment, they killed the man. Just 2 days ago, Senator Jeribe's in-law. And that has been the story, sir, of everywhere in this country. And this is about the 9th attempted motion on security only in the last 4 months. Sir, we can't continue to keep on rendering motions one after the other. Ibn Yar'Adua himself, this is about his 3rd motion on the issue of security. And that's why we created a committee of compliance. What has happened to the resolutions of the National Assembly? But knowing the kind of terrain we have, and for one, I'm not accusing the present administration of any dereliction. They have inherited a very bad liabilities, as of course canvassed by everyone that knows what is doing. Sir, 3 months ago, under your leadership, we sat here and screened the service chiefs. And we extracted commitment from them. Okay, sir.
Yes, point of order.
Mr. President, very distinguished senators, I stand pursuant to Order 8/3 to move that we do extend time to enable us to see beyond 2 p.m. to finish all we have on the order paper for the day. I so move, Mr. President.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I second the motion that we sit beyond 2 p.m. to finish all the items on the order paper. I so second.
Distinguished extension of time and move and seconded.
I said 3.5 months ago, sir, we, under your leadership here, screened the service chiefs. Amongst other things that we have agreed with them, we have extracted commitment that from time to time, we need to invite them where there are issues. Sir, there is no better time now than now to recall these service chiefs together with the Inspector General of Police. Sir, as I speak to you, there is no constituency, one constituency, one senatorial constituency or federal constituencies that have no issues that has to do with security. And like I said, now this is the 9th attempt to deal with these security issues. What do we need to do going further, sir? It is, in my opinion, imbibe the security chiefs and the Inspector General of Police and the National Security Advisor before the Senate at a closed session. and bring out all the motions via boards and proceedings and inform them of the specifics like being enumerated by Senator Yaradua and many other of our colleagues. Sir, unless we try to do something different and tell them and ask them questions, what is their problem? This is what is happening in the nation. Why are we not getting improvement? Why are we? Is it about funding? Is it about personnel? Is it about logistics? What is it? What is the problem? Sir, if you go around this city, by 12 o'clock at night, run down the city, you never see one policeman. After 12, one policeman. Everybody goes home by 12. Everybody. And you know we're politicians, so we do our things usually at night. And you go there, and you know you are on your own. You know you are on your own. That is within the metropolis here. But you cannot even venture to go to Kubwa or Gwarimpa by 10 o'clock. You call Uber, they will tell you they are not going there. Sir, we can't continue like this. So my suggestion is that in our prayer, as good as this motion is, we need to do some other things differently. When the time for prayers come, I want to make an amendment to this thing. But it is a very, very disturbing phenomenon. And Nigerians are looking at us. They can't see the president. They can't see the governors. They see us. We are everything to them. So I think it is important that some of these informations are here. But it's also important, sir, the committee of compliance that we have created to be given the wherewithal, sir, to be able to follow up these motions. We can't make motion and then just keep them. And when tomorrow comes, there is no synergy between what we pass and what we are going to do. So the committee of compliance, sir, should be able to be empowered to follow all this up to the villa, up to the Inspector General of Police, National Security Advisor, service chiefs, so that by the time we have some of this situation, we just call him, what have you done this far? And then we'll get these answers. Thank you very much, sir.
As a statement, more or less, inclusive the debate, because the Committee on Compliance has been doing a good job. I'm aware that even when we talked about the electricity bill, they were able to follow it up until it was stopped, and so many others. And when this chamber made a resolution that people should be treated in hospitals with gun wounds, whether or not they have police reports, the IG of police accordingly issued directives to that effect, that all gunshot victims should be treated, but report made to the police, but they must be treated in order to save their lives. That wasn't the case before. People were just allowed to die in hospitals, whether they were victims or whether they were the culprits. So I think that most of our resolutions are being obeyed and adhered to, and the Committee on Compliance is already doing a great job. They just finished a fantastic retreat which was well attended, and they've enumerated what they are going to do for the year. Yeah, the next thing we need to do is to do exactly what we have just said, empower them so that they will be able to follow up on all our resolutions. Some of the items you have said, some of the issues you brought up are issues that we can put in the amendment to the prayers. And is there anybody here who is opposed to this motion? Okay, so we go to the prayers. Accordingly, commend the security forces and agencies in Nigeria for the ongoing efforts made in fighting all forms of insecurity in the country. Those who are in support of prayer one say aye. Those who are against say nay. The ayes have it. Urge the various security agencies in Nigeria, both military and paramilitary, to improve and enhance their inter-operational synergy and coordination for the effective and holistic tackling of the various types of insecurity plaguing the nation. Develop a national security policy document outlining the framework for an improved and streamlined synergy. Let's take it one by one. Prayer 2A, improve and enhance their inter-operational synergy and coordination for the effective and holistic tackling of the various types of insecurity plaguing the nation. Those in support of prayer 2, sub A, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Sub B, develop a national security policy document outlining the framework for an improved and streamlined synergy and coordination between the various security agencies. Those who are in support of sub B say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Sub C, embark on joint training. Embark on joint training to enhance their capabilities and effectiveness in dealing with all forms of security challenges bedeviling our dear nation. Those who are in support of this joint training say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, Senator Ningi, additional prayer.
Invite the National Security Advisor, the Armed Forces Service Chiefs, the Inspector General of Police, and the DG Civil Defense for a closed-door interactive session with the Senate on matters of security.
Any seconder? Yes, distinguished Senator Zhang.
Yes. Mr. Senate President, distinguished colleagues, I am Senator Dr. Titus Zhang. I rise to second the additional prayer as suggested by Senator Ningi, and I also have an additional one to add to his addition. But in the interim, I will only I will only second his proposal for additional prayer. And I claim your indulgence also.
The colleagues, the motion has been moved that we invite the security chiefs, Inspector General of Police, the Army chiefs, Defense chiefs, the Director General of SSS, the Civil Defense chief, and other gun-wielding security agencies, their heads and service chiefs to a closed-door session with the Nigerian Senate to discuss holistically the issue of securing the nation, protecting lives and properties as soon as possible. Those who are in support of this prayer say aye. Those who are against it say nay. The ayes have it. I believe strongly this second prayer is all-encompassing. Security issues are actually closed-door issues. So once the security chiefs are invited and they come before us, all the other issues, we will table them and we will ask the necessary questions. So it's not by prayer that you will invite, that you will solve the problem. It's by having one-on-one interaction with them. And then from there we can find out what they are actually doing to secure lives and properties, because it's our responsibility as representatives of the people to do so. So thank you for all your contributions. Additional prayer? Senator Issa Jibrin, additional prayer?
Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, distinguished colleagues, I am Issa Jibrin, representing Kogi East. My additional prayer goes thus: urge the Nigerian police force to establish dedicated command and control centers at all the state capitals and the FCT for all the relevant security agencies to interface periodically for intelligence sharing and coordination.
When you are with them, wouldn't it be better you bring it up? Any seconder? No seconder. So let me thank distinguished Senator Yaradua for bringing this issue of insecurity once again to the fore, and thank my distinguished colleagues for all their contributions, particularly the last prayer, that we interface with all the security chiefs in a closed session with the Nigerian Senate to actually bring out the feelings of Nigerians and then also get their perspective on how they intend or how they are fighting insecurity in the nation. I know that pockets of incidents have marred their efforts in the last few weeks, but about 2 months ago, we had actually seen very serious improvement, and would like to see that going forward, particularly in this season of Christmas, where people will be traveling across the entire nation. So it's important that the roads are safe, and it's also important that people sleep at home with their eyes closed. Thank you for all your contributions. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very, very distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I stand to move that the chamber goes into a closed session to enable us to discuss some urgent matters. I so move, Mr. President.
Yes, Minority Leader.
Mr. President, I second the motion that we go into closed session to discuss internal issues. I so second.
Those who are in support of the chamber going to closed session say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.